Hello, everyone. It's bright and sunny in London today. I'm not sure which part of the world you are in. So good evening or good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to this presentation. It's the first of its kind, called an Introduction to Digital Marketing. And it's part of the UEL Agent Certification Program that we are running with the International Office here at the University of East London. So bear with me. This is the first session that we are trying to run. So let's see how it goes. I really hope it's a positive experience for you. Before I move on into discussing the nitty-gritty of the session itself, I do want to say a huge thank you to begin with for all the work that you do in terms of accessing students and supporting students on our behalf, on behalf of the University of East London. And I also want to say that you're an integral part of our community. So anything that we can do in terms of support or in terms of programs like this, certification programs, we'll be more than happy to venture into in the future. So this is kind of built on that basis to build a better relationship with you as agents across the world, because you're such an integral part of the UEL community. So on that note, I just want to focus on this session today, which is a brief introduction to digital marketing. What I do want to say is it's it's a half a day session, and we can't, I can't promise that you'll become digital marketing experts by the end of this session. But what I can promise is that you'll have some basis. It's anything in marketing. There are so many tools out there, from Google Analytics to search engine optimization. And those tools, artificial intelligence or virtual reality, they're all used in marketing, and they're going to change. 2 months later, we're going to be talking about another set of tools. But what's important in marketing is there are some fundamental principles, and whether it is offline marketing or online marketing, it's those principles that are crucial, and that's what we're going to focus on. And if you really like the session, and if you want more technical aspects of digital marketing, my colleague will highlight some of those today. But if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty of it, we are happy to do a follow-up session later on in the year. All right. So without further ado, I just want to give you a plan for the day. I apologize. We've been running slightly late this morning due to some technical issues, but I hope to catch up on time. So all the times that are in front of you are in BST, British Standard Time. So please convert them based on where you are. The first session, which I have just started, will last for 45 minutes. And then we intend to have a 15-minute break, and then we'll have a second session where you will be given some insight into the practical tools of digital marketing. And then we'll have another 15-minute break. And then the final 45-minute session will be about digital branding. You can't really talk about marketing without touching on branding. So my colleague will discuss some of the elements of digital branding with you. And finally, we have a Q&A session where hopefully it's really difficult to take questions through the day, but if we'll try and do our best. But if there's any questions that you have, please put them in the chat, and we'll pick it up either during the sessions or at the end in the Q&A. All right, so that's essentially what we are going to do today. The call of the day is to obviously do the introductions. I'll start off with myself and then open the platform to my colleagues. My name is Jaya Kaipuram. I'm a senior lecturer in marketing here at the Royal Docks School of Business and Law at the University of East London. And I sit on the senior leadership team, and my role is school marketing and recruitment lead. So I'm responsible for international recruitment, home recruitment, branding, clearing conversion activities. So anything to do with student recruitment within the school is I take the lead on that. I will open up the platform to my colleagues who are here, who will introduce themselves. Apart from Dr. Rula, who can't be here, but she'll join us later. Diliara, can I hand it over to you, please?
Thank you, Jaya. So, hello everyone. My name is Diliara Mingazova, and I'm a senior lecturer in marketing as well at UEL. Very nice to be here. And a few words about me. So, my research area lays in the subject areas of consumer behavior, branding, and I'm particularly interested in children as consumers and their relationship with brands. My other interest and backgrounds in accounting, not a big fan of accounting, but still have a degree in that area. And I've been at UEL for more than 5 years now, and hopefully we will be able to provide some interesting insights to you today.
Thanks, Diliara. I think for our international agents, it's worth noting that Diliara actually started as an international student at UEL, and she's done her PhD. She's come for a master's in marketing, and then she completed her PhD, and she's joined us as a lecturer, and now she's a senior lecturer in marketing. So you can see there is, we really. International students are a huge part of our story. Thanks, Diliara. Alessandro?
Hello, good morning. I'm Alessandro Vigi. I'm a lecturer in marketing, and I have a different background. I'm just arrived at UEL, but because I'm arriving from the business sector. So I used to be a consultant for more than 25 years, and I used to work as a consultant in digital marketing. I will in charge today of the practical part. I'm the one with the dirty hands, usually the one that use the tools. And so today we are going to see some interesting aspect of digital marketing. I got my PhD from Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm and an MBA from Rotterdam School of Management. So I have a different background, both academic and practical. And this should be, I hope, an interesting aspect of today's class. So let's see.
All right. So what's important to note is that sometimes, a lot of, thanks, Alessandro, by the way, sorry. What's important to note is that a lot of students, I was an international student once, and a lot of students asked a question about what it's going to be like, and what's come across my mind is all the 4 names that you see on your screen at the moment. We're all international candidates. So universities by their very nature tend to be very international. We really welcome international students with that objective, because we can understand what it is like, coming from a different country and having to set up yourself. So that's my team, our team, that we are going, that will do a bit of a relay session. Just to note that Diliara and I will do the first session, followed by Alessandro, who will do the second session, and then my colleague Rula will join us for the third session. Right. So for the first session, we just wanted to give you an overview of basic marketing principles. It's really difficult to jump into digital marketing if you do not know the basics, and we really don't know where you're coming from, what your backgrounds are. So just wanted to give you a brief overview, and these principles are still very much instilled in any marketing decisions that a firm takes, whether it is a multinational corporation like Coca-Cola, or whether it's a small business or an agency or an entrepreneur like yourself. Most of you might be entrepreneurs, running your own businesses. There are some basic marketing principles that don't change. And that still are very relevant to the digital world. And that's essentially the focus of the first session before we go into the tools of digital marketing itself. All right. And obviously, when we discuss marketing, the first port of call to discuss before we get into the dimensions of marketing is to actually talk about what is it, what is marketing. And when you ask someone who doesn't understand marketing, what it is. People generally associate marketing with sales or advertising, but when you do an undergraduate degree with us in marketing or a postgraduate program, the MBA has marketing in it. Our MSc International business program has marketing in it. So marketing is a fundamental function of any business. So like finance, like accounting, like human resource management, it's an integral, and therefore it's referred to as management process, because it's part of the managerial decision making scenario, day-to-day scenario. And another thing to understand, that marketing is essentially, it's the job of the marketer. You can have a fantastic product at a fantastic price, but if that message is not really communicated across to the consumer, then you don't stand a chance. So you might reflect through the process of today's presentation. Please reflect on your own business and think about, are you communicating your offer in the right manner to the audiences, and are you communicating to the right audiences? So marketing essentially deals with communications, which essentially forms a huge part of the marketing story, and advertising is actually a small, tiny part of the broad communications. And we'll look at some of those later today. And marketing is essentially a strategy of adaptation. Like any business, you know as well as I do that with COVID-19 happening, every business has to adapt. We couldn't welcome a number of students in May because of the situation. We are hoping to offer some dual delivery platform, which is very much being built in from September. So organizations have to really adapt to the situation that they are thrown in, and marketing is essentially also, because it's a business function, has to adapt and communicate the offer based on the environmental changes that the business faces. All right, so those are definitions from the Chartered Institute of Marketing and the American Marketing Association, which are like professional organizations in the field of marketing. Now, we really thought about, what are the few important things that you need to know when you talk about marketing in general or digital marketing in specific. And that brings us to what we call as a consumer value framework. I think if you take nothing else from today's session, the one thing to remember is that marketing isn't about selling. That's sales. The function of marketing is much more bigger. It's a broader church. It's a broader umbrella, because marketing looks at everything to do with understanding consumers. What do my consumers want? Who are they? Is this the right product for them? And so on. But essentially, marketing is not about selling a product per se, but as marketers, we tend to believe that marketing is about offering value to the consumer. And it's not just price. It's not just, oh, let's reduce the price. Let's sell something at a lower price. It's not at a higher quality but lower price. I think we need to move away from that discussion of price versus quality and move into understanding that a business needs to offer value. If your consumers perceive your business to be of good value, and that value needn't just come from good quality, you could be an agent that's offering amazing customer service, the best customer service in your city or in your town. And your consumers, even if you're charging a higher price, will perceive that as good value because they're getting an excellent consumer experience. So whatever it is that is your strength, you must have heard terms like competitive advantage. You must have heard terms like unique selling point. So what is your core strength? So it's not just a price quality dynamic, it could be anything that your consumers deem to be good value that you can offer. If you talk about companies like Nike, for instance, they're not in the business just, they sell a shoe really, but consumers are happy to pay a lot more for that because they perceive the value in the brand and what the brand stands for. So the value there for the consumer is the brand and what the brand name stands for. So, have a minute to reflect on your business and what are the key strengths that you can offer as value that may not always be limited to price, essentially. So in front of you, we have a consumer value framework that's taken from Babin and Harris. And what Babin and Harris say is that by the end of the day, in marketing, we try and attract consumers and build a relationship with those consumers. You can't make the consumer buy the product. You can't make someone come to your organization and buy the product. But what you can do is influence that decision making, because that decision making is influenced by a number of things, the environment, like for example, COVID-19, or cultural factors. In some countries, going abroad and studying is not revered as a phenomenon, or it's individual motivations, individual drives. So a number of things come into the decision making itself. But what you can do as a marketer is influence that decision by communicating what your core value is to the consumers that you are talking to. So this takes me to the discussion about looking at some of the most valuable brands, and this is according to Forbes, which has a number of the top 100 brands list. But if think about what a brand like Apple does. Apple sell phones, they sell computers, but why? But it's why do people buy those? Why are they fanatical about those brands? It's because of what they perceive to get from the brand and the value that they associate with those companies. Facebook is just, by the end of the day, it's a platform where people communicate. There's nothing more to it. But why is one of the most influential brand? It's because of how consumers perceive what that brand brings to their social networking, relationships, for example. So all the big brands provide some additional value than the core product that they offer, and which is what I want to come to. Amazon is simply an online shop, really, and there are so many other online shops. But why is Amazon such a big name? Because they are able to provide value in terms of consumer reviews, and that kind of honest, open reviews that you can see. So that is where consumers find value and tend to rely on the reviews and buy and engage with a brand like Amazon continuously over a period of time. So what can you give that is a little bit more than what your basic product offer is? Yes, when students come to you, you're talking about degrees, and you're talking about universities, but apart from that, apart from the core product, can you offer them anything else which helps them to perceive you as a value company, as a value brand? Okay, so which takes me to Keller's relationship pyramid. And if you talk about the basics of marketing, essentially marketing is about converting those people that do not know about you, your non-users, which are at the bottom end of the pyramid, people that are not aware that you exist. But how do you move them through conversation, through relationship? How do you move a person that does not know about you, does not buy from you, to those various stage where the person starts engaging with you and starts engaging with you more frequently? And that is where we talk about brand loyalty and consumer loyalty. So not only am I buying an Apple phone today, but I'm going to buy, if I want to buy a computer, I'm going to buy a Mac. If I want to buy, wireless earphones, I'm going to buy AirPods. So how do I engage with a brand in an ongoing conversation? So how do you engage with the consumer such that they don't just come to you once, but they come to you every time they want to avail that product or service, or they want to come to you every time somebody else wants to avail that product or service by recommending you? So it's the fundamental aspect that I'm trying to get to about marketing is not just sales. It's not just selling here and now, but it's how do you engage with a relationship with the consumers? All right. Which takes me to some of the key principles of marketing, and these are important because they are important whether we are talking about digital marketing or not. Any essence of marketing is to move away from a transactional approach, move away from I want to get this customer now and I want him to pay now, and that's my transaction, and then I make my money and I'm done with that. But it's moving away from a transactional approach to marketing, to doing business, to what we refer to as a relational approach. Think about some of you might have girlfriends, or partners, or daughters, wives, husbands, what have you. Think about any relationship that you have. What is the fundamental aspect of any relationship? It's about honesty, transparency, trust. And that's essentially the conversation when you talk about a consumer and a brand. You want your company to be honest. It may be very uncomfortable, but consumers will be more attracted to you when you have an honest, open, ongoing conversation. Think about the relationships with you have. It's not a one-day thing. It's not a here and now thing, but it's building relationships over a long period of time. And that's essentially, think about your consumers and think about how do we build a relationship on a long-term ongoing basis. And that is the crux of any marketing activity. Marketing also, particularly in this day and age with the blow up of digital marketing, the crux of marketing has moved into something that the producer does. So you can't, it's not simply, this is my product, I make it and here you have it, but essentially bringing the consumer into that conversation. So rather than a one-way dialogue where this is what I have here, take it whether you like it or not, but it's more of a two-way or a multitudinal. If you look at a community like Facebook, many consumers, or eBay or Amazon, many consumers are talking to each other. So moving away from a one-way to a multitudinal conversation where you bring the consumers in. Remember, we were talking about openness and honesty. And what does that mean? That means that you ask them what they want. You ask them how you can reach out to them. So in marketing terms, that's referred to as co-creation. So you're not just the producer, you're not the creator, but you can ask your consumers to create this brand with you, to create the organization with you. So be open to bringing them in and asking them how you can improve your communications, your product, or your price, or what have you, right? And the other thing that is a key marketing principle is marketing is not just about selling or creating demand today, but it's about having a stimulus approach. So not just this is what my customers want and let me make a product and let me satisfy those consumers at this moment, but it's about what will they need tomorrow. I mean, we didn't know before smartphones came into the market that we actually needed a phone that can where we can do our emails, where we can browse on the web, where we can talk to people all over the world. We didn't know that. I mean, the companies said, look, here's a product. This is, your life will be better if you have a smartphone. So it's about stimulating the demand. So be one step ahead of your consumers and say, okay, this is what they want today, but what will they want tomorrow? What will they want a year ahead? What will they want 5 years down the line? So being consumer centric does not just mean meeting the customer demands. It means having those open, honest conversations about the consumers and anticipating what those conversations will be a few years down the line. Right, which brings me to some of the core marketing strategy principles. When we talk about marketing strategy, we talk about segmentation, targeting, and positioning. Now, as such, it's a huge area, and I'm only skimming through some of these concepts here. So I will leave my email at the end. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take. So another thing that perhaps for you to think about is, segmentation essentially talks about there's all these students that want to study, right? Is there any way we can group them we can, and you're probably doing this anyway without realizing that you're actually conducting the process of segmentation. So can we group them into, I don't know, people that want to study in the United Kingdom, people that want to study in Canada? You probably do that anyway. Or do I group them based on people that want to get scholarships and people that, you know, are happy to pay for the course fee by themselves? So segmentation is essentially dividing the consumers into smaller groups so you can effectively meet the needs of that group in a much better manner. You know, if it's a smaller group, you can understand that group and you can meet its needs in a more relevant manner. All right, so segmentation is about dividing the group. So instead of treating all your customers as one big blob, try to see if you can divide them and maybe send, if you are able to successfully do that, you can send much more customized communication to those customers. So after segmentation, targeting. So if you're able to identify groups, you can target those groups. You may actually come to the conclusion that instead of targeting all these segments, it's actually not worth my while to actually look at this group A and group B, because there's simply not enough market there or there's no demand there. You might say, actually, let me just target these 3 markets or 4 markets where I can have a much more focused conversation with the consumers, rather than diluting my efforts and my energy by talking to everybody. So, you know, reflect on who are your segments, and is it worth your while targeting a few segments so that you can enrich the experience, the consumer experience. And finally, positioning. Positioning is the crux. I cannot stress this enough. It's the crux of all marketing activity, whether it is, you know, a simple small business or a multinational firm. What do you want the consumers to know you for? And that's what consumers will remember. Positioning is how do you stand in the minds of the consumer. So do they know you as somebody who's really good with advice on international visa? Or do they know you as somebody who can offer them really good scholarships? Or do they know you as somebody who knows the universities in London, for instance? Is that your specialty? What is your specialty? And sit down with your team and reflect on that and focus on that. You know, instead of saying I'm good at this, we all know we can't be good at everything. Is it worth my while focusing on what my key areas are? You know, so that the customers know that's what I stand for. So segmentation, targeting, and positioning is essentially the core of any marketing activity. Once you know who your segments are, who you want to target, and how do you want them to know you, the next step is then to think about the product and say, okay, these are the people I want to target, and this is what I have, this is the product that I have. Is there a match? Does the price match with the consumer? I mean, most of you probably know the marketing mix. It's the 4 Ps that is taught in any basic marketing 101 class. So who, you know, what is the product? Is the price right? Is the distribution channel right? So essentially, if you say that the consumer is the international student, you as an agent are an integral part of what we refer to as place, which means the distribution channel. The consumer travels through the agent to come to the university. So is the distribution channel accurate, or are there any hurdles there that you can remove? And finally, the most known aspect of marketing, promotion. Are you communicating correctly? So the 4 Ps, then think about the 4 Ps from your consumer point of view rather than your business point of view. Instead of just saying, oh, this is the product and this is the price I can offer because I want a 10% margin or 20% margin, think about your consumer and say, is it the right price for the group that I'm targeting? Is it the right product for the group that I'm targeting? All right, which brings me to, I'm kind of leading you into digital marketing. So when you talk about the 4 Ps, one of the element here, which is promotion, is essentially in marketing terms, it's referred to as integrated marketing communications. So integrated marketing comms is how do you communicate to your consumer? Because when you're talking to your consumers, you can use, remember when I said advertising is only a small part of marketing? Because advertising is just one of the many ways in which you can reach out to your consumer. There are other tools, what we refer to as the communication tools, like public relations, sales promotion, direct marketing. There's number of ways. Sponsorship, you must have heard a company sponsor a cricket league or a football tournament. So sponsorship is also a tool in which a company can communicate or talk to the consumers. So there's many tools at the marketer's disposal, and those tools can be relayed through a number of media like outdoor advertising, billboards, hoardings, advertising on trains or buses. In the store, you might have heard of point of sale, POS, or POPs, in-store advertising with banners or what have you. So you can do a number of those things through those media, and essentially what is the message that you're giving, which goes back to your positioning strategy. What do I stand for? And am I giving the right message based on what I want the consumers to know me for, right? So this is integrated marketing communication, and this is the principle of any marketing activity, which brings me, finally, you're saying, I hear you say, when is she going to talk about digital marketing? It's now. So whether you talk about traditional marketing, whether it's an advertisement in a magazine or a newspaper, digital marketing is nothing really new. It's just a different way of doing things. We've always been putting advertisements. In the UK, we call them yellow pages, or like a phone directory, or a magazine or a catalog. But what is digital marketing? Digital marketing simply means taking those adverts and putting them online through search engine marketing or display banners and so on. So what I want you to understand is that the basic principles of marketing are the same, except that everybody is pretty much connected in a digital world, and that's why we have to do it online. So it's not this new phenomenon. It's something that marketers have always been doing. If you think about public relations, typically we used to do press releases or interviews with journalists or what have you for public relations, but we do that online in the terms of blogging. You have influencers, vlogging, companies write articles. So it's still PR, but it's done online. Similarly, sponsorship is done online. So digital marketing essentially is, the notion of digital marketing is essentially achieving the marketing objectives, but applying achieving those objectives through digital technologies. And why is the conversation of digital marketing important? Because the digital landscape has completely changed. I mean, think of the number of things that are connected to the internet, from your phone to nowadays you can connect your refrigerator to the internet, you can connect your coffee machine to the internet, so that when you travel and by the time you come home, you have a hot cup of coffee brewing. You have devices like Alexa and I can't remember the Google one, connected to the internet. So your refrigerator could be connected to the internet. You have smart TVs, smart fridges, and what have you. And what does it mean? Every time something is connected to the internet, there's a trace of data. The amount of data, apparently there are 500 million tweets that are sent every single day, and some 294 billion emails that are sent in one single day. And imagine the amount of data that we are creating on a day-to-day basis, individually as a person. So what does it mean to you as a business? What data do you have? Is there any information? If you can simply have data about how students are searching on Google, for which universities they want to go to or which countries they want to go to. Do you have that data? Imagine how targeted you can be if you have that data. So data, consumers are constantly producing the data, and it's about how marketers can use the data to make better marketing decisions, to make better business decisions, right? And we talk about privacy issues. We talk about a sharing economy. This is another trend that you are probably familiar with, the likes of Uber or Airbnb. People are happy to share their car or their accommodation, their house, or you can rent out your driveway. People are happy to share information, are happy to share products and services. So again, a number of things have changed in the way business is being done, and that's why digital marketing exists, because the playing field has completely changed in how businesses conduct business. It's not normal. It's not like how it was 5 or 10 years ago. So if you're not doing anything digital as a business, if you don't have a social networking site, a Facebook site or an Instagram account, or if you're not in looking at search engine marketing, you need to think about it. You need to think, right, it's about time I do something that involves a digital platform or a digital mechanism, because your consumers, I mean, the consumers that you are probably talking to are 20 to 25-year-olds. They were born with the internet, so they are engaging with the internet on a day-to-day basis. So if you don't have a social media platform, if you're not tapping into the data, then I think you're missing a trick somewhere. So am I placing my business such that it's tapping into the digital landscape that's going on? Which brings me to focusing much more specifically on social media marketing, because social media is a big aspect of digital marketing. And I'm happy to pass it on to my colleague, Diliara. Are you happy to pick it up from here?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. It was very informative introduction. I covered all the key aspects of marketing. And I really wanted to add several times when you were talking about marketing. I think that one of the key messages which I want everybody to have in their minds is that marketing is consumer-centered today, okay? And when we say that it's consumer-centered, it means that we are trying to gain a very deep understanding of consumer minds. Because if you think about it, at the end of the day, everything what we do as a marketers or even as a agents is that we communicate with consumers in their minds. So how can we dig deeper and get a deeper understanding of their behavior? And this is where the marketing becomes a multidisciplinary field, really, because marketing borrows a lot from psychology and sociology in order to understand consumer behavior. So I'm here today to talk a little bit deeper about a little bit more about social media marketing. And what I want you to do is to develop, what I want you to have at the end of this session is to have this a very critical view on social media and to gain an understanding how can we use social media strategically, okay? And I would like to start by showing you a very interesting data. So the recent data is showing us that 90% of people age 18 to 30 from 18 countries use their smartphones first thing in the morning. And I think we are all guilty for that. Sometimes we use our smartphones even before we're getting out from the bed. Imagine yourself leaving the house without your smartphone. It's a nightmare. I'm sure that many of us would never do that. We will come back and get it and move on with our life. But without a smartphone, life would be very difficult. And think about your target audiences as well. For the young generation to 20 to 18, 20 years old, life without a smartphone is not life. Again, whether it's good or bad, it's a different subject. But it's a big opportunity for marketers, and they have to use this opportunity. But what they have to do is to gain an understanding what would be the most strategically right way of using this medium. So another, sorry, Jaya, just one more point at the last slide. Another big number you can see there, that 3.9 billion we will have by 2021, 3.9 billion active users. And today I did a calculation, and it is 40% of worldwide population. Okay, so you can imagine 40% of all people living in the world would be browsing social networks more than 2 hours per day. And for marketers, this is a great opportunity. So on the next slide, Jai, if you can just put, I brought these little statistics for you. Again, I'm sure that Alessandro will be talking a bit more about it, about the Facebook and Facebook advertising and so on. But it's fascinating to see how many active users we have in each country in millions. So, for example, the leading country is India. We have 280 million active users on Facebook. So the question is, what do we do about it? Can we actually develop an effective Facebook advertising to reach this, to reach our target audience or not? So yeah, so let's move on. So what you see on this board is very, very important, and I think it's very useful if you are a practitioner. Okay, so if you are out there and you're thinking, right, which social media channels shall I use? And you would be surprised that when social marketing started booming, a lot of PR agencies were dealing with the real customers, and the businesses wanted to be everywhere. They were saying, right, we want to be present everywhere. We want to be on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, and so on. But this is not necessarily a right approach, because if you want to have a good and effective social media campaigns and be effective in your social media tactics and strategics, you have to you have to understand what is your goals, and also you have to understand what is the nature of these platforms. So on here on the board, you can see that we divide these social media channels into these 4 broad categories. So we have social community, social publishing, social commerce, and social entertainment. So what is important to realize is that consumers do different things in these different channels. So for example, if we look at the Twitter and Facebook in the category of social community, this is where people come together because they are probably sharing the same interest, okay? And this is the area where we can talk about brand communities. And the brand communities today is a big topic in marketing, very well studied and so on. But the reason why people go to these platforms, mainly because they want to build a relationship with other people. And what you have to do as a business, you have to ask yourself, so, okay, this is why they're going to these platforms. This is what they are interested in when they go into these platforms. How can I fit in, okay? What kind of adverts can I create for them? What kind of campaign can I engage them? What kind of campaign can I create which will drag their attention, and so on. Social publishing, again, another very interesting social media channels such as YouTube, okay? So the social publishing is about content creation. So this is where you have to realize that consumers very much into creating the content and share the content with others. So can you, as a brand or as an agent, can you create a relevant content for them? The content which will be meaningful for them and they would be willing to engage with this particular content. So this is the social publishing. If you look at the social commerce, again, very straightforward. These are the platforms which helping you to sell things. So the platforms like Amazon, for example, I think that Facebook also offering the opportunities to sell through the Facebook, TripAdvisor, and so on. So as you can see, the nature of this platform would be slightly different from the one from the YouTube, for example. But you would also probably notice they're overlapping. So for example, Facebook would be probably present in 3 zones. And the reason for that is because every single channel, every single social media network is about connecting people and allowing this dialogue between them. And the last one, social entertainment one, I don't think that it's maybe particularly relevant for agents. However, today social entertainment and gamification is a very hot topic. Most of the brands jumping into the gamification. Companies like Burberry, for example, constantly creating a mini advert game or games on Instagram and so on. Why they're doing it is because they want this engagement, they want interaction. And this is what social media is about. And this is what we want as marketers. We want to interact with consumers. We want to hear their voices. We want to understand their psyche. We want them to engage with our content. We want them to remember our content and so on. So on the next slide, I want you to think about 4 questions, okay? And maybe reflect upon what you are doing and whether you are doing it or not. Is how can you generate and sustain this high level of engagement and interest online for your consumers? And we come to the basics here. And I'm a big fan of the classic marketing principles. I really think that the digital marketing is no different from traditional marketing. You can't really, separate one from another. And if you think about it, and what research is telling us is that consumer behavior and the reason and how we behave didn't really change just because we went online. People still behave in the same way. It's just it's brought to completely different content. So if we're gonna start looking at these questions, let's go to the question number 1, Jai. So what are your social media goals? So whenever I'm talking to my friends who have a business, I always say to them, do you know what is it you want to achieve by engaging with your consumers through the social media? First of all, you have to understand which social media network would be suitable for you, whether it's going to be LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube, and so on. But the most important thing, what is it you want to achieve? Are you after creating an awareness about the new program, for example, okay? Or do you want to increase the conversion rate? Or do you want them to actually click on your advert and come to your website, okay? So you have to understand what is it you want to achieve in a short term and in a long term. So in the long term, maybe you want to create a stronger relationship with them. And if you want to create a stronger relationship with them, it means that maybe you have to generate a continuous content which would be relevant for them and with which they would be constantly engaging. If you want to, in the long term, for example, let's say you want to create a brand awareness or an awareness of a particular program, that would be a completely different goal. And to achieve this goal, you might choose a completely different platforms to do that. Once you set up the goals and terms, another big thing is to set up, it's still previous slide. Another big thing is actually identify your metrics, okay? Because in marketing, especially in social media marketing, sometimes it can be very challenging to assess the success of your campaigns. And that's why before you start doing anything on social media, set up the goals and also set up the metrics. How would you assess whether you did achieve a brand awareness? How would you get an understanding, or for example, you want to generate a dialogue with them on social media? Put it as a metrics, because then you have to go back and see whether it's worked what you decided to do. Okay, so I don't have much time, so I'm just gonna quickly take you through the rest of the question. Which platform should we be using? I think I already covered this to some extent. I think one of the most important things for agents especially is to remember that in different countries, people might use different platforms. So for example, if you're going to China, Facebook shouldn't be really your choice. You should go for WeChat or Weibo, okay? They have different platforms. I can tell you in Russia, because I'm from Russia, we have a different platform, different from the Facebook. It's called VK, and this is where most of the people are engaging. So very important to think critically about choosing the right platform for your campaigns. So next question, the question number 3 is, what is your content strategy? And we know that content is very important. 46% of consumers reported that they follow the brand just because their content is inspiring. Be very careful about the story. So the content is the story which you are telling to your consumers, and the story has to be relevant and meaningful, as simple as that. And the last question, which you also have to keep in mind, Jai, if you move to the next slide. So are you ready to talk with your audience in a real time? And I think that we all know that today the real-time marketing is hugely important. I think about Twitter, for example. Twitter is famous for the scandals and so on. And if you should be able to react very quickly in a real-time manner, because you know it's very important to hear to your consumers and be able to address whatever concerns or questions they might have very quickly and efficiently. Okay, and my very last thoughts about the social media marketing, because I'm a big believer that we have to, yes, we need to be an active and efficient marketer, but we also have to have a little bit of critical thinking about it. So brands today have much bigger ability to inspire, connect with consumers, no doubts. And the online internet platforms allows you to do that, as I mentioned earlier. But we had this professor, Mark Reeds, and I'm a big fan of him, okay? And we would share this slide with you. And I really want you to watch this little YouTube video, which we provided for you, where he criticizing social media marketing in a very, very smart way. And again, I think it's useful, especially when you are trying to develop efficient and tactical decisions around the social media marketing. So I think we're just on time. We're supposed to finish in 10:45, and I think we did very well. And our emails hopefully would be shared with you. And if you have any questions or you want to hear a little bit more, you're more than welcome to email us, and we will provide you with any further information. Thank you.
Hello all, this is Annabelle, who works for the International Office. I just encourage you, if you have any questions regarding anything that Jaya or Dilaria has mentioned, please pop them in the question panel. We'd be more than happy to answer them. If there are no questions, we'll take a short break, at which point for the second session, we'll have Alessandro come and discuss the next session.
Thank you. See you later.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Annabelle from the International Office. Just a quick mention, I know a lot of you have been asking whether you'll receive a certificate. Yes, you will receive a certificate, and I believe it will have your name on it. We're having a slight issue with the fact that some people have signed in anonymously. So what I'm going to ask you to do is at the very end of this certificate course, I'm going to ask you to put your name in the Q&A. Please be aware that I can see how many attendees are here and are live at the very end. So if I notice that there's a disparity, then I'm going to have to look into it. So please only put your name if you've attended for the whole session. And then we've had some questions regarding whether you will receive the presentation or the recordings. Yes, you will. So you'll receive a recording of this whole presentation next week. So the next session will be starting at 11 o'clock, so that is in 12 minutes. So feel free to take a breather, a break, work on any admin that you have, and then we'll be resuming in 12 minutes. And thank you very much for joining us. Hi everyone. We're just going to resume the second session. So we have Alessandro Vigi, who's going to take us through the second session. Just as mentioned before, this is going to be around 40-45 minutes. Highly encourage you, if you have any questions, please pop them in the chat. You know, we'd be more than happy to answer them afterwards. And please continue to just keep your questions coming in, and we hope that you're enjoying this this presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So welcome everybody to the second session of this interesting day. So what we are going to see today, as I told you at the beginning, is some hands-on approach. We are going to see some basic tool of digital marketing. As I told you, I have just joined UEL, but I'm a practitioner basically. I'm coming from business. So the tools we are using are the tools that every company or several companies are using now on the market. So let's start. Let me see. So let's start with the first basic tool, the newsletter. I know that you are overwhelmed by newsletter. There are newsletters in your inbox on Monday morning. There are newsletters in your inbox during the night. You are receiving tons of newsletter. So basically, I know what you are thinking about newsletter. The newsletter is boring. You are not reading your newsletter. You are not doing anything about your newsletter. They are basically useless. And they are, in a sort of way, an outdated way of communication. Well, I tend not to agree with you. Newsletters are a great tool. The problem is everybody can send a newsletter. So we are overwhelmed by bad newsletter. We think, and people usually think, that a newsletter is an email. So they are sending newsletter as they are sending email. But the newsletter is a really, really powerful tool. But let's start with the definition. What's a newsletter? It's a document I got from the web yesterday, so it's absolutely basic. It's a document with information about the recent activities of an organization sent regularly to its member or customer. So we are giving information. Using the newsletter, we are giving information to people. It's obvious that you have to follow some basic law. You have to know who are you sending the information to. One of the basic mistakes we are doing with newsletter is that we are getting a data set, we are creating a data set, we are creating a database of email without even thinking about the database. And then we send an email every week telling how good are we. We are very good, dear precious customer. We are very good in doing our job. Thank you for reading our newsletter. This is not an information. This is nothing. We are harassing people with the newsletter in this way. You do not know the customer. You do not know what they want. You do not know what they need. We are just sending something really selfish. We are telling our potential customer that we are the best company in the world. Obviously, it doesn't work. Obviously, people do not read our newsletter. Obviously, you are not reading the newsletter you are receiving because they are badly made, because they do not consider the customer. And more often, they are made using not the correct tool. I went in several companies, and when I asked about the newsletter and say, which tool are you using to send the newsletter? They told me, well, we are sending using Outlook or Google Suite or any other email tool. That's not a newsletter. That is an email. And you do not get any out of that email sent to your customer. You just got a customer annoyed. So let's see how can we create a nice newsletter, and then I will show you some number and some tools. The tool I'm going to use today is Mailchimp. Mailchimp is probably the biggest tool about newsletter that we have on the market. My strategy that is should be a common strategy in digital marketing is go big or go home. When you have to choose a tool for making a job, choose the best tool you have on the market. Choose the biggest one. This is something really easy. You know why? I'm from Italy. You know why in Italy they are not using Mailchimp? Because it's not in Italian. It's only in English. So I have a lot of companies that are not using the best tool that is present on the market because they cannot read English. This is not our case. We are lucky. We can speak English. So today we are going to see Mailchimp. There are other company making newsletter, making tool for creating newsletter, and they are all good. So what I'm saying about Mailchimp is not because I'm promoting Mailchimp. It's because I think that if you go for the biggest tool, you have less problem and you have more power. And moreover, often, and this is the case of Mailchimp, it's even cheaper. For example, the tool I'm showing you that is Mailchimp is cheap, is free. If you have a database that is smaller than 2,000 persons. So many companies, many small business, and I do not know if you have more than 2,000 potential customers, they can run a professional tool for free because this is their pricing policy. Or if you want some more professional tool, you cannot buy for a few bucks. You can buy something, but it's absolutely my suggestion is to go to the biggest on the market. You know, go big or go home. There is no reason to play in the second row. So this is my first suggestion. So let's see what. Let's use some keywords about newsletter. You have a list. The first important thing you have to know when you are sending a newsletter is that you must have the correct list. You need to know who are you sending your email to. You need to know why are you sending it. So you need to create, and this is the most important part. You can even buy a list of people that could be interested in your information. Newsletter is made for sending information, and people is looking for information. So we need to find the right people for the right newsletter. Do not buy. I know that you can go online, you can buy 1 million email address for $50, and then you get an open rate of 0.01%, and you have the idea to say, okay, the newsletter doesn't really, our newsletter or the newsletter is not a real tool, because you know we bought 1 million email address and we got 10 people opening our newsletter. Yeah, it's true, because you are harassing them, because you are annoying them, because you are talking to people without knowing who the people is. One of we have discussed about marketing in the previous session, but one of the basic concepts of marketing is targeting. You need to target. You need to understand who is your customer. So you need to identify a small slice of the cake outside and talk only to that small size. So you know exactly if you are able to segment the market, if you are able to cut the market in slices and get only one of them. You can talk using the same language. You can use the same interest. You can talk about football, for example, cricket or whatever, but you need to understand your customer. You cannot talk to an Italian guys and discuss how good is pasta with mushrooms. We are not going to do that. That's different from our culture. We need to talk about carbonara. So you need to understand your customer. So the first and the basic important part is identifying your list. It's a job. This is not a joke. It's a job. You have to study your customer. You have to collect the email address. You have to create a database. You can even create a database with the interested, and then you have to create a list or a sub list for every particular group of people you want to talk with the newsletter. Then you have to send a campaign, that is the message. So usually you are sending a message using a newsletter. Which is the difference between a newsletter and an email? Well, in the newsletter, you have a graphical aspect, you have several links, and we will see later why it's important to have links. You can have videos, you can have images, you can have anything, you can have social network links. The important thing, you must use all the digital tool you have, because using the newsletter, we can record our customer. Every time you are sending a newsletter, you can record exactly what your customer is doing on your newsletter. And this is the difference between a newsletter and an email. When you send an email, the email just disappears in the space. And if you're lucky, you get an answer. But in the 99% of the case, just you send the email and nothing happened. And you do not really know what's going on. Maybe it has been, has it been opened? You do not know. Has it been read? Did anybody click on the link in your email? You do not really know. The newsletter is not about sending email, but it's about creating campaigns. So a group, an email with links and interaction, and with a statistical system that collect every information that our customer is giving us. So at the end, we have a report. Do not worry, we are going to see the data, the real data. I got some data from one of my customers, so we can look at the real data. The report is the tool that gives us the information on about the customer experience. We know how many people open the newsletter. We know how many times they open my newsletter. We know when they open the newsletter. We know if they forwarded the newsletter. We know if they click on a link, how many times they click on a link, if they click several, if they click in different days. So we know a lot of things about our newsletter. We start to talk with our customer, even if our customer do not know about that. We start to know our customer. We start to understand what our customer wants. So it's quite easy, but it's a job. You need to create a list. You need to create a campaign that is an email with a lot of link and a lot of interest. And we need to read our report. So let's have a look. This is the list. What is a list? This is a list of architects in the United Kingdom. I used it for a customer of mine. So you see, it's a business, so we do not really get the name of the architect because it wasn't present in the list. But we have the website address. We bought the list for, I think, for £100, something like that, and we got 20,000 email addresses. So we have the website. We have the name of the organization. We have the position, the location of the organization. And in our list, we have another important tool. We have the telephone number. We know if they unsubscribed or subscribed to our list. So if somebody asks for unsubscribing from the list, they do not just disappear. I have the information and the name is still on the list. So I know they are not interested. Having an information more is better than having an information less. So the name of your customer is still there. And all the information about your customer are still there. So we have where we found the information. We have the name, the date. We have a lot of information. So this is what you have to do. Every time you go to a fair, to an exhibition, to a conference, you got a lot of business cards. The business cards usually are in the closet, or you take a picture of the business card that is in your mobile. But you're not using the business card and the data. There are a lot of data that you have in the business card professionally. You're just archiving. Archiving is not using. You need to use the data. not to archive it. So you need to create a list, and you can create a list inside your Mailchimp. So what do you really have in your list? For every email address that you have in your list, you start to know your customer. We have the information I told you. We have the information about the presence. We have the information about the profile, but we have the activity feed. You know that every time you send a newsletter to your customer, to Mr. Post at, I do not know, mwapartners.co.uk, you know that what they have done with your newsletter. So in this case, we send a newsletter, they open a newsletter, they click on my newsletter, and they open twice. So they open the 21st of June and on the 22nd of June. And we have a couple of information about that. This is just the beginning. So imagine you have a 2,000 person list and you know exactly what went on with them. You know if they are interested or not. If they are still opening your email, you are sending an email about UEL and you see they are opening today and tomorrow and tomorrow, and you saw that they open the email 10 times and then click 15 times on a particular link, maybe on HR module, you can make a call. You can write a personal letter. You can say, hey, mister, I saw you. You are interested in HR, in our HR marketing or anything department. Do you want to have more information on that particular subject? You see, we are not harassing anymore our customer. We are listening to our customer. That is not talking to us, but we are listening. And then we can give him the right information on the right subject. So we can give him a lot of information. And I have a curiosity for you. Just to show you how powerful are the tools we have, we really do not know. I have a suggestion. If you are outside and you do not want to show your boss where you are, do not open a newsletter that is coming from me, because newsletter usually geolocalize you. In this case, I know I cannot read it, but I can open it. Okay. I know where the newsletter was open the last time. They had to change a little bit because a couple of years ago, I had the information about the exact geolocalization of the people. So you were walking using your mobile, receiving my newsletter, opening the newsletter, and I knew where you were. I could see the spot on Google Maps. So you are in London, close to Piccadilly Circus at the Pizza Hut restaurant. Now it's unfortunately it's illegal. So they are giving us not the details in the information, but that's amazing. And I'm sure they are not giving me the information, but the information are still there. So someone can have that information. So just a suggestion, if you do not want to show your position, don't open a newsletter, but basically don't get the telephone with you. But if you open a newsletter, you are sending an information to the sender about your position. And this is useful. We will see later on, because we have some tips and tricks about sending newsletter. But, oops, sorry. Let me make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. So this is your data set. You start adding your customer using the classical way, business card or list or anything, but using the newsletter, you are creating a digital relation with your customer, with your potential customer. You are sending something, they are reading, and they are leaving a track. They are leaving information. They are sending you information without even knowing. And that are the best information you can get because they are unfiltered. So you know which is their interest. You know if they are interested in MBA, 1 year MBA or 2 year MBA, so you can send the right message to them. This is the first step, the first keyword. The message, remember, we have the list, we have the message. This is a classical newsletter. It was a really easy newsletter. We had to sell one villa close to Monte Carlo. if you're interested, has not been sold, so it's something like 15 million euro, but it's on sale. So if you want it, the email is something flat. The newsletter is something elaborated, rich, full of details. So you have to create a lot of details in your newsletter. Here on this newsletter, I can click on the link of the real estate agent. So I'm interested not in that villa. I'm interested in all the villas sold by the real estate agent. I mean, you can click to the YouTube video they made with the drone, and there are other information in the newsletter. So maybe there is information about the location, there is information about the dimension, there is information about the privacy. So we managed to have a lot of different set of information in our newsletter, and we were looking where our customer, our potential customer, our architect were clicking. Because if you are clicking for privacy, I'm going to send you, after a couple of days, because I know that you clicked over there, I'm going to send you a nice PDF file about privacy in our villa. If you click on luxury, I'm going to send you another PDF file about the villa that is close to Monte Carlo, that is a luxury city. So I'm sending to my customer for the same item, different information. We are selling the same item, but a different product. This is marketing, and Jaya and Iliara told you very clearly that the customer is not buying an item, is buying a group, is buying an item and some advantages, some benefit. You want to have some needs resolved. So two different customers can buy the same item for two different reasons. If you understand the reason why they are looking at your item, you can send them the right message. And this is what about a newsletter is. So you have, I can't show you Mailchimp, but probably we will have another meeting. But it's really easy to create a really graphical newsletter like this. It takes you 5 minutes. It's a drag and drop process. So you can create a really nice newsletter with a drag and drop process, and then you can collect information from your customer. And this is a great thing. So what do you get now? We have the report. I'm making it bigger. Sorry, it's a really difficult to read it. Every time you send a newsletter, you got information back. This is the difference between a newsletter and an email. I know that I sent 10,865 newsletter, 2,365 open. It's more or less 20%. It's not a bad data. It's a good data. We are talking, you remember at the beginning, I told you people complain because the opening ratio of a newsletter is less than 0.1% because they have a bad data set or because they are not understanding how a newsletter works. This open a very big space in front of you because 99% of the people that are using newsletter are making a really bad use of newsletter. So you are free, you are a giant in between normal, or you're a giant in the middle of nowhere if you can use the tool very well. And in our case, we got 273 clicks. So 273 architects open our newsletter. This is a success. I went into 273 studio. They clicked. So they click, and this is another important thing. You see that performance, the 24-hour performance, the newsletter has a very short life. Nothing happened after 4 hours. So you have to send, and this is the trick we are going to discuss later, you have to send the newsletter at the right time. If you are sending the newsletter at the wrong time, you are just sending the news, you are just destroying your job. You need to identify the right time to send the newsletter because you have a 4-hour lifespan, even less, but let's say 4 hours. So if your customer do not open your newsletter in 4 hours, the newsletter is dead. That email is not going to be open anymore. But now we got some information. We know when the newsletter was clicked last time. Somebody complained about our newsletter. I'm just to say we have an abuse report. 3 people out of 10,000 say, well, really, you shouldn't send us a newsletter. But this is not a big deal because we can block them. So that's it. The system automatically block the people that wrote an abuse report. So, and if you are trying to add them again, if you make a mistake, you have the business card in your pocket, and you're trying to add that people again, the system just refuses to have them added. You need to follow a really difficult procedure to add them again. So it's something that really helps you to stay online. Let's go on with our data. What do we have here? We have the links that are clicked. So I know that 206 click our YouTube video. Oh, this is a nice information. They are interested in YouTube video. What have we told to our customer in the YouTube video? Did we talk about our university? Did we talk about the career success? Because that's the topic of your next conversation with your customer. Then somebody look at the picture and so far and so on. So we know where they went. But we even know who opened the newsletter most. So we know that planning at mca.co.uk opened the newsletter 41 times. If you have a customer that opened your email 41 times, and you have one phone call to make, who are you going to call? That's it. Hello, can I talk to Mr. Vigi? I saw you are interested in UEL. Can we talk about that? Because they gave you, they are asking information without asking. They are opening your email for 41 times. Oh, for sure you have to call them. Not in email, that's a call. Oh, maybe you can even offer them a coffee. I'm going to join, I'm going to see you. If you are in the city, let's have a coffee together. I want to show you something about UEL. That's a great opportunity for you. So imagine if you have 10,000, a database of 10,000 email addresses, you cannot call all of them. But if out of that 10,000, you have 20 that are opening your newsletter more than 20 times, you can make 20 phone calls. And the success will be higher for sure, because they ask for your help. They are really interested in listening to you. Maybe it's not, but the probability that you got something, it's really high. And what do you get here? You get more. You know how many times they open, and you see you can go back to your email address. Every email address got all the information related to the newsletter you have sent. So you are creating a rich database about your customer. You are creating something really interesting, and that is the value of a newsletter. You're not just sending email out in an automatic way. You are not doing that. You are collecting data. You are talking with your customer. You are knowing your customer. Now you know who your customer is. Another thing important is to say that when you have a list, you can divide the list in sub-lists. So you can send a newsletter to everybody. And then you know that only 20% open the newsletter. And maybe somebody is not interested, but maybe there is the case that they were away, they missed the newsletter. So you want to send the newsletter again. But please do not send the same newsletter to the people that already opened. So you can create, with a couple of clicks, a sub-list of people that received your newsletter and didn't read it. So you can just send them a second issue, a second sending, a second shot, not to the other one. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. You can now, you know that your customer are working on different level and they have different interests. So you can create some sublist. Oh, I have to go, it's half an hour. From theory to practice, you must, this is a must and not should, send your email only from Tuesday to Thursday. Why? A lot of people, I want you to remember what you are doing on Monday morning when you are in the office. You are, well, now we are in the lockdown, the office is 24/7, but in a normal life, you're arriving at your office, you sit down, you open your email and you see billions of newsletters and you start clicking every newsletter and then delete them all together because they are basically too much. You're not even reading the either. You just delete all of them because the first 10 minutes of your Monday routine is dedicated to clean your inbox. Well, this is quite usual. I can tell you that on Friday, you are too busy to finish the thing you have to do to lose time for reading the newsletter. So the newsletter has to be sent only from Tuesday to Thursday. And you should, this is a should, send your email only during working hours because it's happening the same every day in the morning. If you have 15 newsletters, probably you do not have time to read it. So please send the newsletter when people is behind the screen of the computer. So you have a pop-up and something interesting, and you can spend 10 seconds looking at the newsletter. Maybe you get some information out of that. And so you say, okay, this is interesting, I keep it. So this is a, I know it's an hands-on, I told you, this is an hands-on approach. These are practical tips. But the difference between 0.1% opening and 20% opening is deriving from this kind of tools, this kind of acting. You must segment your list. Do not send the same email to everybody. Now you know that you are start to knowing your customer and the message has to be different. And you must send an email only when you have something to say. There are several theories that say you to get engaged with your customer, you have to send an update every week. Oh, I can tell you, this is not true. This is absolutely not true. Because if you are opening, you are interested in something about in a newsletter, and you are opening the newsletter and you get some information. If for a couple of times you open the newsletter and there is nothing really interesting to you, you just stop opening the newsletter. So you are losing a customer forever. You are losing your customer because you are not giving them information. If you have nothing to say, say nothing. I can tell you for sure that people do not leave waiting for your newsletter on Monday. This is not how it works. This is absolutely not how it works. So this is something really important. And then there are some tools. One of the most important tools you can find, there are a couple of, I forgot to tell you one thing. You are working all around the world. You can tell me, okay, how can I send a newsletter at 10 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday? Because that's the exact time I want to send a newsletter. But I have different time zone in my market. There is a really nice tool on Mailchimp that is called Time Warp. You remember that we are localizing you using GPS or using the IP address. Mailchimp know where you are. So Mailchimp, before to send you the newsletter, check where you are. And then you discover that you are in a different time zone. And if you plan to send your newsletter at 10 o'clock in the morning, it's going to send the newsletter at 10 o'clock in the morning, local time, to everybody. So everybody is going to receive the newsletter, not at the same time, but at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I'm going to receive my newsletter, because I'm in Italy at the moment, 1 hour later than Diliara, that is in London. because we are in 2 different time zones. But both of us are going to receive the email, the newsletter at 10 o'clock in the morning. So you can plan when to send the newsletter, and they are going to check your time zone. This is something amazing for me. And finally, there are some tests that you can use it. There is a split A/B test. You can choose, you can divide your list, and they are making experiment. You have 10,000 person to send. They can divide your list and try to send the best option of your message. But now I have to rush because there is another tool I want to show you. So I hope that for the newsletter, this is just an introduction, but there are, it's a really, really powerful and cheap tool that you can use to get the information out from your customer. But now we are talking about Facebook. Oh, Facebook, everybody knows Facebook. So I think I have to tell you one thing. Facebook is not an easy tool to use. And the formula I'm showing you that is called the edge rank of Facebook, it's an old formula. In the past, we are talking about more than 11 years ago, this is the formula that they used to decide how much visibility to give to your post. Now, and there were only 3 variables. Now there are more than 10,000. So I cannot show you all the 10,000 variables, but these are the basic, are still valid. So this is not the exact formula, but we are talking about the most important variable. When you have an image in your page and you want to talk to your audience, one thing I have to tell you that if you post something on Facebook, not everybody see your post, because only 19% maximum of the people that are in your fan base are receiving your email. And the number of people that are receiving your post is due to the edge rank. And the edge rank at 3 different variables. The first is the affinity, how much I interacted with you in the past. So are we affine? Are we saying the same thing? Did I write you in the past? Did I like your picture in the past? Did I comment? Did I share your post in the past? This is the affinity. Am I close to you? The second one is the weight. So we are talking about the past. The second aspect is the weight, so the actual moment. How much interaction got your post? A lot or not a lot? If your post is getting a lot of interaction, that is like, comment, or sharing, the post is pushed by Facebook. So a lot of people are seeing your post. If you do not get a lot of interaction, your post is over. So do not get a lot of interaction. So instead of showing to 19% of your fan base, they are showing your post only to 5% of your fan base. And the last one, the last variable is the decay. The older is the post, the less interesting is for Facebook. So if you are posting, this is why you do not have to post something at 2 o'clock in the morning, because nobody is online. And your post is going to decay very fast. So you are not getting weight, you are not getting information, and so your post is going to disappear in the morning. So now you see that every time you are creating a post, and Facebook deserves 4 lessons, because it's really complex to have a nice Facebook channel, but it's absolutely the 3 variables. If you have in mind your 3 variables, you can go for it. Let's see. How can you get some affinity? You need to have comment. So ask question in the post. Do you prefer UL? Do you prefer UL classes starting on Monday or Friday? If you get some answer, you get some interest from your fan base, and the fan base will see your post more often. So remember, they are seeing 1 out of 5 of your post maximum. You need to get that maximized. So you need to have them active in your channel. If you are doing politics, you can do that easily. You have people fighting one to each other. So you make a post at 9 o'clock in the night. Usually, I do not know why people is fighting on politics at 9 o'clock in the night. But make a post if you're a politician You make a post at 9 o'clock in the night, you write something controversial, and you got billions of interaction. And then your channel is safe for a couple of weeks because you got the interaction. So you have to open the room for discussion. You have to prepare your post in advance and post it at the right time. Basically, you have to use human weaknesses. Let's say, imagine you have something important to say tomorrow. You want to post something and you want to maximize the number of people that are looking at your post. How can you do that? Without paying, obviously. If you pay, you can get even, I have to tell you, even if you advertise on Facebook, the edge rank is the same. The advertise doesn't grant you the number of interaction. They give you a lot of interaction if you have an high edge rank. They give you less interaction if you have a low edge rank. So the edge rank is important. But imagine you have a really important post to do tomorrow about enrolling the UEL, about some money you can get from the government for UEL. You want the maximum number of people looking at it. You have to use human weaknesses. You have to create interaction today. How can you create interaction? You have to post a wet cat. This is have a look every time. Why do we post wet cat, nice babies on cakes in the morning? Because they want interaction. UEL is not selling cats, I'm sure about that. But sometimes you have to post a cat because a cat gets a like, and the like get an higher edge rank for the next post. So if today you're posting a cat, tomorrow you're getting more interaction. Obviously, you cannot leave posting only cats because we are not selling cats. But you have to understand that it's really complex using Facebook, and you need to have clear in mind the edge rank and the 3 variables that are running and are driving the visibility of your post in Facebook. So now we are close to the end, so now the cat is always successful. Google. Are you an expert? Are you sure you can use Google? Let's have some glossary. I have 3 minutes. In Google, a SERP is a search engine result page. What you see when you digit something on Google. The CEO is the search engine optimization. How you can have your website, your personal page in the first position. And then the SEM is identify the right word to use in your website to get the result. You can get and finally we have the keywords. This is something common. Even if you have not ever made a website, you know about SERP, SEO, SEM, and keyword. But because I want to challenge you, and because at the moment I'm a professor, I'm a lecturer here at the UEL, I'm going to act as a professor. So I'm going to give you some homework. I would like to see, maybe we can discuss in the chat at the end with the question. I would like you to study the command file type. The command file type is the king of the command. Because with the file type, you can really clean the result of your search engine search. So now we have 2 minutes. I'm not going into it because I'm going to give you as a homework. But if you look for file type on Google, you will see that is absolutely excellent. And then you will find another interesting. I give you a second assignment to study what is Google dataset search. At the beginning, I told you that you need to have a database with a list of your customer or any kind of list. Google dataset search is a particular search engine made by Google, and you can find Googling Google dataset search in the Google page that is looking for database. So they are showing you, they are giving you open database. So you can collect all the data out of the database for free, mainly for free. Sometimes you have to pay, but so it's completely different from Google. It's another search engine. So I have only 45 minutes, 1 minute more, so I can't go farther. But this is something that if you tonight have nothing to do, you can search on Google and find file type and Google dataset search that are amazing tools for doing anything on the web. And finally, because I'm not doing only digital marketing, I'm a marketer, you have always to put a personal touch in your presentation, in your idea. My personal touch today is saying happy birthday to Zoe, that is my daughter, that is turning 9. So I'm going to record and I'm going to tell her that I told everybody that it's her birthday. So we will discuss, this is I'm really sharp, it's 11:45. We are going to discuss the question later on. So this is, for me, it's enough.
Hi, Alessandro. We've had several questions come in.
Okay.
So the first one is, can you please talk more about the difference between an email and a newsletter?
Okay, yes. Now, or at the end of our...
Yeah, if we just do 10 minutes question and answer now, that would be awesome.
A newsletter is a particularly is a rich email. A newsletter has a graphical aspect, is sent using a newsletter tool like the Mailchimp I show you, and has a particular construction that allow you to collect the data from the receiver. So this is the, when you send an email, the email, you can't collect anything from the receiver. There is a privacy. You send an email to anybody and that's it. You cannot get anything back. Sometimes you have an opening notice if you ask for that, but it's really unpolite to ask for an opening notice. So every time you send an email, you lose contact with your message. If you are using a newsletter, you have more elements, more technical elements. You can add images, you can add video, you can add link, you can add a graphic, but moreover, you can collect the information from the receiver. You can study the receiver. The receiver is, when the receiver serves your newsletter, read your newsletter, open your newsletter, is sending information back to you. And this is the absolute difference between Outlook and any tool for sending a newsletter. The email is one way, the newsletter is a two-way way of communication. You got information back. Do I answer? Did I answer?
Yes, that's great. Thanks very much. Another question we have is, how do I make a database if I'm new to the business?
Thank you. It's a very, very interesting question. It's a $1 million question. It's about your business. I mean, I think we are talking about the agent, so you need to create your database. Usually you go I'm talking as an agent, but different business have different way of collecting data. So because we are talking about personal email address mainly, you have to go to the fair, you have to go to the school, you can collect the email from the school if they gave you the permission to get the email from the school. So you can do in that way. You have to go really, you need to walk and go everywhere and collect a business card, email address, calling the school. I do not think, because we are talking about personal email address, you can buy a database. I do not think in Europe you can buy it, but it's really difficult from the privacy point of view. In other countries, it could be possible, but it's a dirty database because you really do not know anything about the email you are collecting. So you have to go personally, school by school, creating event, creating webinars, and collecting email address. That's unfortunate. This is I told you at the beginning, creating the list is the job. This is the most important job, because if you are creating but you have to do in that way. If you want the email of the architect in the United Kingdom, you go online, you find a nice list, you buy it. But we are not talking about that at the moment. So if we are talking about person, you have to go to the fair or to the school. That's my basic idea.
Thank you, that's wonderful. Another question we have is, how do we target different students looking for different information in the same list with the assumption of different application journeys?
Oh, this is a nice question. Well, obviously, when you have your first database, you are sending a general email. So you can propose UEL and say you can have law, medicine, and I don't know, tell me another, and architectural. So there are 3 different schools, and then you give information about law, architectural, and medicine. But if I'm a student, I'm interested in law, I'm going to click on the law link. So I sent the newsletter with 3 different links: law, marketing, and medicine. Usually, if I'm interested in marketing, I'm clicking on marketing. And because this is a newsletter, we got the information back. We know that Alessandro Vigi click on marketing, and that's an information that you have to insert in your database to create a sublist. Alessandro Vigi is not interested in medicine, he's interested in marketing. Every time we have something new on marketing, we are going to send him a newsletter. If you have something new on medicine, well, probably he's not interested. I'm not going to bother him, because if you annoy the student is not going to open the newsletter anymore. To send the proper message, you have to listen to the information that the newsletter tool gives you back. And one of the information is the link that the user has clicked, and that's an important information.
Great, thanks so much, Alessandro. I think we'll finish the questions there, and then there are 2 more questions that you had that we'll address at the very end of the Q&A, so after Rula's session.
Okay.
So just to inform our attendees, just to let everyone know that we are going to be taking a short 10-minute break. So feel free to take a quick break now, and we'll be back just a bit after 12 o'clock with our next presenter. And thank you so much, Alessandro, for such a great session.
Thank you.
Shall I put on my camera? Not yet.
No, not for now. Hello everyone, welcome back to the webinar. For this next presentation, we have Rula Abdul Razak. She is a senior lecturer in branding and global marketing at the University of East London, and she will be discussing an introduction to digital brand communications. So I'm going to pass you over to Rula, who's going to kick off her presentation. Thank you very much, Rula.
You're welcome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. It's good to be with you here, and I hope you're enjoying the sessions so far, and that you will enjoy the last. Originally, it might have said in the invitation a different topic, but we're talking about brand and how digitally we communicate brands and create a brand image and identity. So I hope you'll enjoy that. It's quite close to my heart. My name is Rula Abdul Razak. I'm a senior lecturer in branding and global marketing and have been in the industry before, and I enjoy really working on branding and helping organizations to internationalize. So this is the third session. We'll try to stick up to 45 minutes. But if you have a question, please let me know. Sorry about that. Okay. So what we will look at is trying to understand what is brand and how do we create it in the mind of the clients and the consumers, the target market that we're aiming for. So unfortunately, I can't ask your thoughts because we'll need much longer time to debate it, but I'll share with you some thoughts that I have. Now, in this slide, I'd like you to guess in the chat some of these brands and see whether you will be able to guess them. I'll have a look at the end, hopefully, and see if you guess them. So I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure why it's just jumping the slides, but anyway. So the basics, the start is that brands is a trademark for ownership, and they've been branding the cows, and then we started branding ourselves with these brands that we love. So the idea is that we tattoo it on ourselves. It's not just for ownership anymore, but it's for the ethos, for the meaning and the strong associations with it, like belonging. And this is really important to realize. So we became quite attached to it, like it was tattooed on the kettles in the old days to create ownership. But now we feel that we belong. So it's about belonging and meaning. Preference of attachment, and you can see here how all those people went through all the pain of tattooing these brands that they love, and it will be very difficult to take off, if in case they thought they would change their mind. Clearly they don't think so. So what do we call that? What is this? David Ecker, an authority in the field, suggested in the old days, in the 80s and 90s and before that, is that, well, it is about ownership, and it is a name, a symbol, logo that will differentiate the competition from each other. But and similarly, there was a definition by the American Marketing Association, but then they changed that. In recent years, we had a shift in our understanding to brand. We started to realize how important brands becoming to people. So it's not just about differentiation, it's about identity of the brand that is creating experience for the consumers and the customers, those who are engaging with it. And all of this communicated and lived this experience, not just by using the services like your service, but also through the communication with them, through any promotional communication, through influencing them online and offline, through advertising and media content that you are creating. For Seth Godin, who's a big name as a practitioner in the market and a rebel to a great extent, he thinks it's about all these expectations and memories and stories that we capture through the experience of the brand, and we keep it close to our hearts, not just our minds. It makes us, whether voters, whether buyers, whether business people, be happy to pay and pay premium and spread the word and tell other people about it, and in the first place make the choice. For the Amazon's guru, Jeff Bezos, it's about what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And that's a very interesting metaphor because the brand is not there while all those engaged with it, consumers, society, are talking about it. And that where you want to be talked about positively, preferably, favorably, so more and more people will be interested in your service. So marketing is simply, I'm not sure what's going on. Someone else moving the slides with me. So I'm gonna go out of the slideshow. Maybe that would work. Marketing is about me telling you what am I great at, but branding is about you thinking that, you know, I'm great at something. So you telling me that, and then believing in it, and then living it and belonging to it, which is very, very big difference from telling. And this is where you want to reach for the customers to believe in it, to feel it, to move it forward. So who shapes the brand meaning? Is it the marketers? Is it you, the agency, make decisions, your advertising agency, your marketing communication team, or is it wider than that? And now we know that all the users involved in every content created about you are creating and sharing the meaning and then maybe changing it. So the authors are many. They come from the culture you are living in, the society the brand is operating in, the influencers within that target market and society, and the users of your service themselves in addition to you. So you really need to engage with all of them to be able to create that story of the brand. And what can be branded? It's everything: ideas, causes, places, and people, like Visit Brighton here. So some principles then is we need to create a meaning for the brand for people to associate with it and then tattoo it on their bodies or in their mind and their heart. And this will not happen without the co-creation, as we've seen. The marketers matters, of course, but they really need to understand the other stakeholders, particularly the clients, those potential students that you want to recruit. The context matters, so where they are in the world, in which country, in which region, what language they speak, how they think, what is their culture, and then how they communicate and where they get their information and how they judge what they value are significant. And of course, then innovating and co-creating offers with them based on what they would like to have in their aspirations, making sure that these values are replicated in the brand and that the brand represented, and it generates value. All the experience that you're creating generates value for your brand, so the brand continues to bring you more users who are associated with it. And all of that needs delicate and continuous, consistent communication with value to those clients and stakeholders, of course, taking into consideration the ethical issues and not failing at the first hurdle, like what happened when the COVID-19 started and it was communicated that Virgin Atlantic are just, starting redundancies or asking people, staff to take leave, compulsory leave, which didn't come across socially acceptable. So what the brand stands for? It's your choice, and your choice depends on those that you are working with. So this is an example of the list of cool brands, and what cool means is quite spread widely and differs in opinion, yet you need to know what is cool to your target market when you are developing your brand based on that value and this association. But then how do you get the clients, the customers, the stakeholders to associate with the brand, prefer it and commit to it? So first you need to start with the communication comes from the beginning here, because the brand is not a brand unless, as we've seen, the target market has in their mind belief and perception about it. So it starts with awareness, what it is, and the knowledge about it to build an image, a perception based that information. All of it, of course, happens through the experience of the service that you are offering and providing and the products you are offering. And then comes the preference. Based on the relevance of these brands to me as a client. So is it consistently coming across through its content, through its communication, that it is relevant to me and has the meaning that I'm eager for? And this is the long term that I'm aiming for, so that our clients commit to use our service and talk about it to other people. Of course, example of relevance is with Coca-Cola struggle to be always relevant and not old-fashioned drink. When they try to come up with the new formulas, and then they had to go back to the keep the classic in the market and gradually make a move into a new relevant offers to the consumers, and not losing the heritage and the tradition. So from happiness to adventure, a taste of what you are looking for and what you are eager to have as a consumer. So to enhance your brand position, of course, you're positioning your brand whether based on functional elements or emotional attachments or both. And usually it's both. In your cases with your services, the functional elements that be able to provide what you promise is significant, yet also the associate feelings of trust, comfort, that credibility, that it will happen, that I don't need to, to struggle on my own, that there is support available and it's legitimate, it's efficient, it's effective, etc. So to enhance that, you need to consistency in articulating your messages, and that's through what we call integrated marketing communication, where there is a synergy between your communication across platforms, online and offline. and adapting your marketing mix, moving to customer-focused ones, so from the 4 Bs to the 4 and 7 Cs. That is based on from the consumer point of view, whether it's convenience instead of place, it's cost to the consumer, what it costs them in terms of time and money and emotions and efforts to get your service, the communication, etc. So innovation through the co-creation is significant. So you always improving what you are delivering based on the changes in the requirements of the changes of your consumers, as we will see, and changes in the context. And you're looking at the points of difference between you and the competition, increasing them, and the points of parity that you are achieving what they are achieving and then going further. So if we look at the demographics part of the context, there is a huge changes between the generations, and I would presume the majority of your clients today are from the Generation Z, who are born digital. So they communicate differently, they have different interests and platforms, and they interpret the communication differently. So if you are from Generation Y and you're trying to attract Generation Z, then it is, you really need to understand them. And maybe many of you are from Generation Z, so who can really appreciate their target market and connect with them. Create a content that connects with them and communicate through the communications channels that they are aiming for. So how do I communicate my brand in an integrated way, looking at the different platforms? So in your case, advertising has still a big success factor, especially based on the exposure of the number of people, but of course it depends on the country you are in and how your generation and the decision makers of that, if there's their parents also influencing their decisions and their choices, then what they watch, where they get their information. So with advertising work, but then advertising is not alone, because those young people are getting their information mostly digitally. So which social media platform can raise awareness for them, and which events and sponsorship that would really work on depth to connect us with them, with direct marketing through emails, well-targeted emails that give them sufficient information to take the first step and move into the action. So from the awareness, the readiness of those buyers of yours, from the awareness of your existence, the knowledge of your services, to liking what you are offering and promising and providing, to then making preference between you and the competition based on the content and the communication you are giving them, how relevant it is to them, to be and reaching with them at a deeper level to the conviction and purchase, as we will see in a minute. So what I want you to think about, what are your agency's marketing communications channels and vehicles right now? And what do you think is missing based on getting the consumers through the readiness quantum? So how do you get them into the commitment? And does it work this way all the time, or does it fluctuate? So from liking to back to knowledge, then conviction, then suddenly back to knowledge again. How are they moving? Is there gaps in your communication to get them through that line? So with the brand communication then digitally, it's all about really gathering these communities across borders virtually instead of having to be there physically. Of course, it depends on your culture and where you are, there might be a huge significance for physical visibility for these communities. But with today, with COVID-19 market, then the virtual brand communities are significant for you to create content, to engage with them, and make sure that you connect your alumni, your previous clients with future clients, and create platforms where they can communicate together, facilitate their communities, and create content, and generate leads and also interests, and help in the conversion of potential recruits. It's for them, then your brand become their property. It's a social property. It's a part of the society of those who are looking into such opportunities through you and the value you are offering. Brand communities creates value itself to your brand. So thinking of that and thinking of the gaps to achieve the readiness, where are the touch points with your clients? Are they only when they approach you to start the application? What is before that? Where are your touch points before that? How you're communicating? Which of these touch points getting more effectiveness and attracting more leads, but then which one is converting these leads? On your website, how they are moving into submitting, from information and search into submitting. So you need to really become quite aware of the journey, the online journey, as well as the offline journey, and how they are finding you in the first place. Is it just recommendations, social media, or is it when they are searching the keywords in your industry that you're coming up high in the in Google search or any other search engines that you are using? So think about the touch point, and the touch point after that. Is it end of the story when they get what they go and they start their studies and got the acceptance? Or is there a continuous story? You get their stories after that, you share it, you continue to collaborate and co-create with them for them to generate leads for you and continue to be part of your community. So that's really significant for you. I'm gonna try to use the slide share again because these are slightly small fonts. But you get the gesture here. The researchers here identified the touch point menu, they call it, where there is between deep meaning and involvement with the audience to shallow one. Just informative or just first attraction, and from the general social one into the quite personal, attached to the self. And in here you can see that social media is at the top. It's quite personal, yet it's shallow. It's very good for awareness. Newsletters, online newsletters, word of mouth is excellent for awareness. It can give some credibility, but it needs to go in depth to be able to become personal and deep. For example, a blog where you can give further information that is really arguing and communicating deeply and closely with the person. Events, sponsoring the right events where they really would engage, workshops, open days where you can see them online in whatever way is that. You can create a virtual atmosphere where, and then you customize all the communication as much as possible. Now, this one, an apology for the small font, but it's the main idea that I want you to get across from here. The brand experience, again, based on whether it's general or personal, shallow or deep. And you can see the website is standing in the middle really showing how important it is, huge, to make sure that your website is visible through search engines, through keywords, through the right stories and images, but also that it is knowledgeable, it is friendly, easy to use, and it offers what these future clients can connect with to move them over this readiness line to prefer you and buy from you. And you can see again, social media is personal but shallow, because it's great for awareness and knowledge and attractiveness. But then when it comes to conviction, there is more to be done with the blogs, with also the workshops online, the personal chat online, where you can convert your leads and give them this special experience. So the digital brand really, based on the Digital Brand Institute, is that the identity, visibility of the brand and the credibility it's given to the brand through the communication, the experience of it online from the consumers and other stakeholders. So how you're interacting with the brand online to achieve credibility. You can see that social media gives you some identity, it gives you some credibility, and visibility, a lot of visibility. We can see that the content marketing is significant, because this is where the relevance happens, really, the connections, the attachments, and the value that you're creating to the clients before they join you even. And you continue to give them this value after they receive the service from you, to continue to remember you and mention you to others and recommend you and be part of your community. You can see the search engine is significantly important for visibility, and the ownerships comes from this content, website, of course, and social media connections. So to achieve this identity, you need, though, to be context specific. So if we look at the Philippines here, and this is done in April this year, so during the pandemic, they looked at and identified that 87% are of the people there are spending their time on smartphones, and 50% on laptops. So you know that you have all your communication has to be mobile friendly. Definitely, that 17% are creating and uploading videos on YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms. So videos are important for them. And if your clients create videos of their stories and share it in your communities, brand communities on social media, that would be a great engagement for you. That 64% are spending more time on social media, which is brilliant. They have more time to spend on social media, which means the platform become even more significantly important. But you need to know which social media and what time and what content that they attracting their attentions more. You need to go in more depth, of course, than these generic ratios. And then 50% using apps and WhatsApp and Viber and Messenger. So you need to see in your area which one are the top. Here, WhatsApp in the Philippines. 64% watching more shows and films on streaming services. If you can connect and be visible within that services, place yourself somehow, like brand placement, that would be brilliant. but you can also post links where you can get people to your sites, website, and social media sites. So it's really significant. Having videos also that explain the process, tell your story from your employees also can be highly significant. So where your potential clients get their information from, think about that. And to be able to answer this question, think about making sure your customer persona is done quite accurately, as close to reality as possible, and see example in a minute. So highlight, to be able to highlight where your customers getting their information, what are their aspirations, why would they go for education abroad, what is important for them in the institution they're going to, is it aspiration for a better career, is it social status and to make parents happy, is it about love of learning, is it love of adventure abroad while learning, so what they value and how they get their information. You can see here an example of Tim and Megan. Tim goes in immersive himself in music and what he does. So maybe deeper communication with him, a deeper meaningful communication could really help him achieve, create interest in his heart, and what areas of studies that he's involved in. He's quite interested in music, so what could be exciting for him, where he's getting his information from, mobile, audio, movies, games, and how you can then connect with him through that with your story. So Megan, more of a community spirit, like things to be compatible, but she likes a good atmosphere, so you can connect to her through social media rather than direct communication with a blog like Tim, for example, or through a game or through a piece of music. Megan will enjoy an event and social media information, and you need to know where and what type of platforms, which platforms that they are collecting their information from. What is their aspiration? Would she be interested in higher education? Why would she be interested in higher education? Where does it stand from her values, really, and ambitions in life? And these things differ from a country to another. So you need to immerse yourself within that community you are in. And I'm sure you have plenty of that information, but then you need to know how to use this information to create this digital brand experience. So contents, remember, to create the brand associations are very important. They need to be relevant to the consumers and of importance to their values. You need to think about the context where they would rather have them and how, and that would work for them. And you need to think about the coordination between any offline and online communications. And you can see how brand communities can work online. So from the social networking into the further engagement. So the social networking really set the scene. And then there would be further engagement from those who decide to become part of your brand community by posting, badging, and offering a lot of feedback and communication to others, and creating materials and content themselves to share about the brand. and it helps you in customizing, grooming, and commoditizing, which targeting those clients at the deeper level, as we said earlier, by really knowing what they value and communicating that and offering them something that they are looking forward to. So what we hope for always, remember, one voice and one look. That's the integrated brand communication strategy, online and offline, because to achieve the readiness, you want to go through what we call the marketing funnel, from the awareness that might be through the search engine and the social media, into further interest, and of course ads. If we look at the traditional, it could be online ads that you are using, going into the interest considerations up to the conviction of from intent to buying the products, where the chat, the direct touch, the direct email, would achieve it. And remember always that you are in the experience economy. Education is all about attaching yourself to those clients, and observation from them to the knowledge you're giving them, and your observation of the knowledge they are giving you. But it's all about action, actively interacting with them and them interacting with you. So you have to be able to create this platform to interact with them online and to co-create together through the brand community, and your alumni, connecting alumni with future clients. And you could use storytelling, telling the story of your brand, building from the heritage of the brand into the future the brand is aiming for as an agency. What are your goals? Where are you going? What are you trying to achieve to the society you are in? And let those who used your services tell your stories, parents and former students. Let those who are using it now, let your employees talk about it, senior employees and newcomers, and create this atmosphere of continuous experience. But the whole story, to be comprehensive and to touch all the different, to touch the customers at the different touch points and the different people within your target market, then maybe through transmedia storytelling, through different media layers that comes together online to complete the story. So part of the story will be shared in each one of them. Now, to be able to achieve this, you need to start with the story that you are building around it, smaller bits of a story that come together to give the comprehensive full story at the end, and to share it through different platforms, on games, social media, the website, and different elements of really videos and written, and different elements of social media, different platforms, sorry. So tell bits and pieces of the story and let those to get involved in writing the story with you, completing it. So invite them to connect and put their own videos and put their own stories within that. And this then will give the bigger picture of the experience of your services. And these are just examples that you could go through. Yeah, actually we have time. I hope I wasn't very fast. So I'm not sure if the video would work, but I'm gonna try one first. And that's just an example of how do you create the story and start the story, and then people can share it and comment on it and live it also with you. I'll see if that would work. And then hopefully we can have some time for questions and answers. Well, I really encourage you to go through the customer persona, and I'm gonna share the video now. And Annabella, please let me know if the sound or the picture are not working.
It doesn't look like anything's showing at the moment.
Can you see it now?
No, we can't see anything.
Okay. Okay. So we give it a go. I'm gonna put the link in the chat so you can have a look at it later. So I can do this, can't I?
Yeah, no problem. If you wanna pop it in the Teams chat, I can pop it in the question and answer, whatever's best.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put it here. So this is the example. Okay, so I managed to do it within the time, so I'm very delighted.
Wonderful, thank you, Rula. So I'm going to bring back all my presenters, and we're going to answer some question and answers. Just bear with me a moment or two, and then we will all join, and I will pose the questions that you've asked to the presenters. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Annabelle.
So Annabelle Diliara just said that she's having some connectivity problems, but she's here. Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry, attendees, just bear with us a tiny bit longer. I will be with you. Right, okay, thank you so much for your patience. So we had a lot of questions come in from our attendees, and especially for Alessandro, your particular area caused and provoked a lot of questions from people. So I will see if we can answer as many questions as possible. And I know, Jay, you had some questions at the very end. So one of the questions was, in the West African industry, where you have to position yourself in front of the student constantly, wouldn't it be better to have a timely newsletter, say twice monthly? Alessandro, it'd be good to get your input. Also, other presenters, if they want to join in, that's totally fine too.
Well, theoretically, yes, but it's a newsletter. So if your reader lose interest in the newsletter, you're losing the reader forever. So I wouldn't go for a fixed term newsletter if you do not have anything to say. If this is the job part you have to do. If you think it's useful to have a twice a month newsletter, you have to be sure you have a lot of information to give to the receiver. That's it. If you don't, once you have lost the receiver, you have lost forever. So that's quite challenging. I would prefer to send a newsletter without a regular base, but with a lot of information when you have the information. I'm sure nobody's waiting for our newsletter. This is not the kind of things that people love to have just because it's a regular base. I wouldn't go for that.
Great, thanks so much for your input. We've also had a lot of people ask, is there not anything as good as Mailchimp or equal to Mailchimp?
I didn't find it yet, but probably there is somewhere. But at the moment, the tool I'm using, it's Mailchimp. But we have to say that is a free tool if you are not using it massively. So if you have less than a list of 2,000 email addresses, and if you send less than 12,000 email months, it's for free. So basically, I never looked for another tool because the amount of email I can send every month without paying is a lot. So it's probably there is another one, but at the moment, the biggest one is the Mailchimp, and I didn't look for another one.
Great, thank you. And I don't know whether you or other presenters would have some input on this. This question comes in asking, regarding social media content, I was thinking to start making clever memes since our audience is young, they're students. Would someone suggest any tools for meme creation or any type of online resources for generating meme content without copyright issues?
I can go. There is a website called Meme Generator that is for the copyright. You have to look at the picture you are using. So there is no website that is managing the picture. If the picture has a copyright, you can't use it. But for a meme, there is the law say that you can make a meme out of a picture without paying for the copyright, but you have to ask every legislation every time. But the website I'm using is Meme Generator. It's really nice. It's for free and it's really fast.
Can I just come in there as well, please? I think one of the things is, again, we've talked about being customer focused. So that sounds like a great idea, but again, just be absolutely sure that that's what the customer wants rather than, because it sounds like a good idea. I hope that makes sense in that, try to look at it from your consumer's point of view. Is that what they want, and how are you sure about that? So from their lens, as opposed to what you think may or may not be right for them.
Great, thanks so much, Jaya. Another question we've had in is, do newsletters also enable you to do newsletters also enable you to get data about your potential competitors so that you can vouch for better options to your interested clients?
I go for it. No. The answer is no. There are other tools you have to use to get the info from your competitor. One that jumped in my mind is called SEO Zoom, but it's an Italian software. So basically, it's working only for Italy and UK. You need another software. It's has the same name of Alexa. It's Alexa. So you can go on Alexa and trying to get the keywords that people is using to looking for other universities. So if we are looking for Bocconi University, we see which are the keywords used to go on Bocconi University website. But it's not the tool is not the newsletter tool. There are several other ones. They are not so effective and they are expensive.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. And then we've had a lot of questions in regarding what are the basic concepts of writing a good newsletter? How can businesses write content that would be attractive to audiences? I realize that's super broad, but we've had that question come up a lot.
I think that's $1 million question, isn't it? I mean, as Alessandro is smiling there, I mean, you know, it's a jungle out there, and we're all competing for digital space. So how do you write content that is attractive? I think everybody's after this answer, really. What I would say is that just keep it simple, and as always, write it from the consumer's point of view rather than this is what I want to say. But you know, keep asking constantly, and I'm sorry, at the expense of repeating myself again and again, I do want to say that anything you do, whether you write a newsletter, just think, how will my consumer read this? When you have a Facebook conversation, how is my consumer going to perceive? So always try to write things that they want to listen rather than write what you have to say. And keep it simple. Again, infographics, if you can, you know, reduce the number of words and maybe use pictures and infographics, because the kind of generation that you're targeting, they don't have the patience to read or watch lengthy videos. So I'm happy for my colleagues to pitch in.
Can I just add something here? Sorry, Rula, do you want to go ahead first?
Okay, so it's just relevance, you know, because this is content again. So it has to be relevant and add value to those reading it. So give them value that indirectly would show you the credibility of your agency and what you are offering, knowing what you're doing. So get them value that they will be interested in. Give them, as Jaya said, something easy to read. So a list of criterias or of thoughts of things to do or things to learn about or new facts, infographics, and even if you create it as a blog, but it has to be short. And attract the attention. So relevance and adding value to them, giving them value for free, makes them really believe in you and in your credibility. Yeah. Sorry, Dilyar, go ahead.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say is maybe is going to sound very broad, but I'm a big believer in it. I think that we have to remember that good marketing is the marketing which is based on research. And when we talk about, oh, how can I make my content useful and relevant, it's very difficult to give any advice in this area because you really need to know your audience. And if you have a chance to dig deeper and maybe have an interview or, I don't know, create a little mini research within your agency, if you have a chance, if you have access to the students and have like a little interview or survey maybe just to dig deeper, because we're assuming, oh, you know, the young generation, they don't like a long text, but you never know. Maybe those students who want to go to the further, who wants to have a high degree, they would be reading a long text. You never know. And I think just sitting down like and assuming, oh, maybe this will work because I'm assuming because this is this and that. I would rather go and check that if I have a chance, of course, if I have an access to those people and chance to have a short conversation with me, maybe just a phone interview or something like this, that will definitely help to create a relevant and meaningful content.
Well, you could examine their social media and what they are reading. If you can do that, you can tell what they are looking at and, you know, how much time they are spending on it, for example.
Absolutely, I think I agree with Rula. I think that you should not also ignore the secondary data. If you can retrieve some sort of data from anywhere, which will tell you their behavior or what they're engaging. I think that Facebook ads can do that to some extent. They can show you how well they're engaging with the different ads, whether they're engaging well with the text or with the videos and so on. But again, it very much depends on, I think, on the agency, because something might work for you in this context for this country, but then the same technique might not work in a different context for the different agency.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much. I think all of what you've said is super interesting, and we're just getting loads of questions coming in. So apologies to our attendees. I don't know whether we'll be able to answer all of them, but I've tried to see the main themes running through. Rula, you've had a couple of questions come in regarding COVID-19 and branding. So for instance, one person asked, do you think the situation of COVID-19 branding should have content related to COVID-19? And another person asks, it is obvious we have to make strategies and approaches to marketing due to the COVID outbreak, but what measures can be put in place to ensure we regain the loyalty of customers, maybe in terms of content write-ups or so forth?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very
much. Rula, you're on mute, Rula. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Very interesting questions. Yes, you will need to address, create different contents for COVID-19. Of course, you are developing a strategy to connect with the potential customers based on a new context and new realities. So within the new normal, you're looking at how their behaviors changed online and offline. And then based on the change of behavior, also you're looking at the change of situations and context, whether it's financial, economic related, whether it's family and social related, whether it's health related. So if you can create content that really addresses the problems of today that these potential customers are facing, whether ability to find funding for their studies, whether abilities to travel, and what are the elements of that they could take into consideration, potential predictions. It has to be useful, as we said earlier, and you need to see what they are searching for, what they are looking at, and then give them solutions and ideas towards that. Some of them might be feeling down and let down and unsure. So giving them elements of resilience and ambitions and flexibility in planning the future and looking for. Some people will have to retrain. They are losing their profession. So might be interested. Your strategy need to address that. You need to see which platforms you need to be on that you weren't on online because of the increase based on the location you are in, the change of behavior in terms of what platforms people are reading and getting their information from. Offer something for free, like virtual events that give useful information and connect previous clients with potential new clients and let them tell their stories. And let your employees tell the story of how you are as an agency coping with the situation and meeting its demands and how you can help them reach their ambitions. I think, yeah, there is a lot can be done. There is opportunities as much as there are challenges in such markets.
Wonderful, thank you. I'm just aware that we are just approaching 1 o'clock. So for our attendees, I'm just going to pass you over to Jaya, who's going to wrap up, and then we're just going to stay on the line just for another 5-10 minutes to answer just a couple more questions. Just before I pass you over to Jaya, can I just ask, if you signed in as anonymous, can you please put your full name and your email in the chat, and that will come over to me because I'll make sure to add you to the attendee list, but only only if you signed in as anonymous, not if you signed in on your full name. So Jaya, I'm going to pass it over to you if you can bring up your slides.
Could you just confirm that you can look at my slides, please?
Yes.
All right, brilliant. I won't take a lot of your time because I'm conscious that we were supposed to finish at 1 o'clock, but it might be useful just to wrap up with a couple of things. I do want to point out that in the Royal Dock School of Business and Law at UEL, we have a range of undergraduate courses. On the left-hand side of your screen, or is it right? I don't know. But on one side, it's the courses that we offer under the business umbrella, which is accounting, economics, HRM. We're actually starting new courses in data analytics and fintech, which is financial technology. So really contemporary topics. We also have event, tourism, and hospitality management. In our law side, we have law and criminology and policing programs. As you know, we also have postgraduate programs. The MBA is our flagship program. On the MBA, we have a number of pathways that we have started in artificial intelligence, supply chain management, project management, and the MBA comes with a placement. Along with the MBA, our LLM program, which is like a master's in law program, also has a placement year, which is a compulsory placement where students are given an opportunity to work in a law firm. We have other MSc programs like International Business Management, Human Resource Management, and so on. What I would highly recommend is that all this information is on our website. I'll point you to that in a moment, but please have a look through them. I do think if you have any further questions, as I said, I'm the marketing and recruitment lead for the school. I put in my email ID there, and Annabelle, if you don't mind popping it in the chat, I'm happy to answer your questions. It would be great if you can come through the international office, which is your first point of contact. But if you really have any course specific questions, I'm more than happy to answer them. I do want to thank my colleagues for doing this today. I couldn't have pulled this through without them. So thank you, Diliara, Alessandro, and Rula. And finally, I do want to point you out to our brand new website, which is the Royal Dock School of Business and Law, where we are making sure that all the course information is completely up to date. So you can click on the subjects here and look at the course information. The other thing I want to point out is we are doing a lot, particularly given the COVID-19 situation. We have a number of masterclasses and webinars that we are running. So please go to the virtual hub, UEL's virtual hub, and you can access a number of masterclasses and live webinars when you have time. There's also information on return to campus. I'm going to make sure that all these links come to you when Annabelle sends you the information. So if any of your students are worried about how's return to campus going to look like in September, there's a lot of information here on what we call the dual delivery, where the freedom for students to either attend classes online if they want, or they can come to the campus if they want. So there's complete flexibility. And I do want to point you out to UEL's return to campus page, where there is a lot of information that you can read and give accurate information to the students. And finally, I would really encourage you to sign up to our Twitter account, which is @SBL_UEL. So if you're on Twitter, please follow us. All our live information in terms of web series, seminars, what academics are achieving, what alumni are achieving. We put all that information on there. Pardon me. So just to reiterate, our Twitter account is @SBL_UEL, and there is the university-wide Twitter account @UEL_news. So please follow these. And just wanted to thank you for your time today. Over to you.
Hi, Okay, thanks so much. So if the presenters have a tad more time, we're just going to answer 2 more questions. Bear with me a second, make sure. Okay, so we have 2 more questions come in that seem to be very popular. One of them is, what would you say the best paid platforms are for advertising?
It depends, I think. Alessandro, you're muted, Alessandro.
Oh, it's another $1 million question.
Yeah.
It depends on your target. You can use it's in a sort of ways the platform are really related to branding. If you are using a pay-per-click, you need to have a strong brand because you are looking for a brand. If you are using pay-per-view, so Facebook and Instagram, you can promote a brand. It depends on what you are going to do with advertising. And in a couple of, I think, months, we are going to see Google My Business advertising. So everything is changing. There is no right answer. You have to know where your customers are, what they want. That's it. But unfortunately, there is no answer.
Okay, great. And then we'll end on this question. I think it's quite an interesting one. This person asks, will there ever be anything better than Facebook and Instagram adverts? What are your thoughts?
Well, TikTok is trying very hard.
Yeah, it depends on your age.
I think that if we look at the history of the social media platforms, so we'll see that actually there is not so many of them appearing. We only have Facebook, the big one, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Well, TikTok appeared as well. But I think I read somewhere that it's very difficult to come up and create a platform like this because of the politics and so on. So, and I agree with Alessandro. I think that you can't really say, oh, all right, this is the best platform and this is not the best platform. It all depends on your goals and your target audience.
Yeah, but I can see where the question is coming from because of the situation right now with Facebook and the many businesses boycotting Facebook and trying to find alternative platforms, and they are using TikTok a lot. So Facebook is facing huge challenges at the moment. We appreciate that. However, it's these companies, when they started, they became a miracle because they started and quickly grow dramatically. So you need to come up with really innovative technology where people connect very differently for a new platform to take over. So at the moment,
You are muted, Rula.
Since when?
No, just now.
So with there will be more and more platforms with more and more people are using the online communication and social platforms. So there is a space for competition, what I would say. But to take the lead from Facebook is you have to come up with a new way of communication. That is, we don't know it yet. We can't see it at the moment. Or dramatically really push it hard with so many court cases, etc. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. It depends on the country, though. The preferences of different social media platforms depends on the country. So you need to be quite alert to that. But I don't see them going anywhere anytime soon.
Can I just add something? Just came to my mind. I think that there is a lot of talk about virtual reality and gamification. I think this is where we might see some new things, because it is a quite new area and a scary area, because you know, the virtual realities today are super accurate. And one of these applications, I mean, you can download the applications and you can see how accurate they are. So yeah.
Here you are.
Wonderful. Thanks all so much. I know we weren't able to answer all the questions today, but what we will be doing is, if there's any particular questions that we haven't been able to answer, we will try and send those over when we send over the recording and the slides for this certificate course. I know there's been a lot of questions regarding when you receive your certificate. It will probably be in the next couple of weeks, but you should receive a survey regarding the certificate course, along with the recording and the presentations next week. So keep an eye on your inbox, keep an eye on your junk mail, just in case it filters into there. And thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you've had you've enjoyed it and that you've found it informative.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.